Welcome to your Season 21 Blaseball weather update. This is the late season forecast. Warning: this video contains forbidden knowledge. Stop watching now if you do not wish to access hidden information. This video would not have been possible without the work of the Society for Internet Blaseball Research. In a surprise to no one, flooding remains the most common weather as we close out Season 21. Sun 2 is back in second place, but we have lost glitter again. Breckenridge will host the most solar eclipses, Kansas City the most reverb, Philadelphia the most birds, and Miami the most sun 2. Stay tuned for a team-by-team breakdown after a review of snack investments. Everything but black holes have increased on the mid-season. But with Unstable back in business, the returns from Sundays may be the best to look out for. The Lift have 1 chance to use sweetener, 3 to use psychoacoustics and echo chamber, and 2 chances to see their newly installed flood balloons in use. Their most common weather will be sun 2. The Fridays get 3 opportunities to welcome in some feathered friends and 5 to use flood pumps, seeing flooding as their highest weather. The mechanics made the smart choice to install flood balloons as it is the only modification they can use in the late season, with 2 games for it, and flooding being their most common weather. The garages luck out with use for all their modifications, 1 for sweetener, 1 for birdhouses, 2 for psychoacoustics, and 5 for new flood balloons. Their most frequent weather is also flooding. The Lovers have just 1 game for any of their modifications, playing in Coffee 2. Their highest weather is flooding. The Tacos get 3 games for psychoacoustics and LCD sound system, and 2 games for both birdhouses and their increaser, giving them 4 Sun 2 games overall. Their most common weather is salmon, and they play more games in it than any other team. They also host one of the 2 polarity games of the late season. The Magic see 1 game each for heat magnet, solar panels, and sweetener, and 2 games for birdhouses. Their most frequent weather, though, is flooding. The Sunbeams are granted 4 games for psychoacoustics and echo chamber, 3 games for solar panels, and 1 salmon game. Their highest weather is sun 2, and they will play in one of the 2 polarity games. The Jazz Hands play 1 game each for psychoacoustics and LCD sound system and birdhouses, and get 2 games from their increaser. Their joint highest weathers are solar eclipse and flooding, and they play more solar eclipse games than any other team. The Stakes will see 5 uses for their newly installed flood pumps, but nothing from their other modifications. Their most common weather is flooding. The Spies get 3 chances to use flood pumps and 1 to use birdhouses. They have 3 most frequent weathers in flooding, salmon, and peanuts. The Wild Wings have 3 games for flood pumps and balloons, 1 for sweetener, and their remaining increases count for 3 more games. Their joint highest weathers are salmon and sun 2. The Breath Mints have 4 games for psychoacoustics and echo chamber and get a game from their increaser. Their most common weather is flooding, but they play the most reverb games of the late season. The Firefighters get 1 game for echo chamber, but still no coffee. Their most frequent weathers are birds and sun 2. Despite only playing 6 home games, the Worms get a game for flood pumps, a game for birdhouses, and 1 from their increaser, giving them 4 black holes overall. Their most common weather is sun 2. The Moist Talkers stay on brand with 5 flooding games at home, blessing their new flood balloons. This becomes 10 overall, their highest weather and the highest flooding of any team. The Flowers get to use all their modifications in the late season, seeing 3 solar panel games, 2 birdhouse games, 1 psychoacoustics game, and 2 flood pump games. Their most common weather is sun 2, and they will play in one of the 2 polarity games. The Millennials are going halves, with 1 psychoacoustics game and 1 flood pumps game, but no solar panels or sweetener. Their most frequent weather is flooding. It is birds o'clock for the Pies as they play 6 birds games at home, increasing to 7 overall, making it not only their most common weather, but the most games of it any team will play. The crabs get 3 games for psychoacoustics, 4 for flood pumps, 1 for heat magnet, and 2 for their shiny new event horizon. They get 5 black holes overall, but their highest weather is flooding. The shoe thieves will sip a single coffee game in the late season, instead hydrating more with flooding, their most common weather. The Georges have 2 opportunities to use psychoacoustics and LCD sound system, but their other modifications are still in seabed. They do get 4 games from their increaser, which contributes to flooding being their most common weather. The Dallé get 2 sweetener games and 2 birdhouse games to see out the late season. Their highest weather is Sun 2, and they play in one of the 2 polarity games. The Tigers have everything up and working, with 1 game for birdhouses, 3 for new flood balloons, 2 solar eclipses, 2 blood rain games, and 3 salmon games. Their most common weather is flooding. Tuning into the weather. I'll be back with your Season 22 forecast next week, but until then, rejoice, play ball.